Ladies and gentlemen, joining me in the studio, I have two very special guests with me. One is KGGO listener Ron Woodard. Hey, good morning, sir.
Morning.
Now, morning, whatever. And then our other guest is Captain Doug MacCrea from the U.S. Navy. He is retired, and you guys are here for a very special reason. Just to set this up a little bit, Ron, who listens to the station and has won here and stuff, he started telling me a story a few weeks ago about the new USS Iowa. Ron, what was that story?
We had the pleasure of meeting some of the crew for the new submarine, which the original battleship has been put into retirement and made into a museum. The submarine is currently still being built and is supposed to be, to the last I heard, and it all depends on the boatyard, from my understanding, when it gets launched. We met with some of the crew at a American Legion convention a year ago. And we also met with some of the commissioning committee, which is who Doug MacCrea is with. And that's about it. He can tell you a whole lot more than me.
All right. So the reason you guys are in here is the crew of the USS Iowa needs help already. Is that kind of fair to say?
The crew needs some financial support, and I want to be very careful how this is caged because there are things that appropriated federal funds cannot pay for to support the crew and their families. And the role of the commissioning committee is to generate funds to help provide for those things that the government is not allowed to pay for with taxpayer dollars. What are some of those things? Recognition for the sailors that are putting forth a lot of time and effort to help bring this ship to life. Things for the family readiness group, such as funds to support child care when both spouses have to be away from home.
Okay.
Commissioning a ship is a lot of hard work, and it's not a 9-to-5 job. We try to then put together some things for the crew to do. A lot of what we've been doing recently is bringing members of the crew back to the state of Iowa to find out what Iowa Nice is all about. These folks are going to be representing our state, or start representing our state, throughout the 35-year lifespan of the boat.
Now, Ron, Captain? Captain?
Captain or Doug.
Captain or Doug. All right, I like calling you Captain.
Thank you.
So Ron was telling me, and real quick, I want to make sure I mention this. Ron from the American Legion Waukee Post, 737. I didn't get that in earlier. I wanted to get that in. Some of the things that go on the boat are not funded by the Navy, correct?
That's correct.
And what are some of these things? Because when Ron was telling me about it, it was kind of, I don't want to say shocking in a bad way, but it was kind of like, wow, they really don't, pay for, that? What are some of these things that this is going to help go towards?
Some of the things that we're looking to get money for to fund: exercise equipment, DVDs, simple little things like that. Other things we're trying to do are to do some upgrades, habitability things that the government comes in and orders them, and they're doing their due diligence and saving money. They're not necessarily the best or the most sturdy of items. So we're looking at things like, purchasing heavier duty rack curtains. Now, what's a rack curtain? A rack curtain goes across a sailor's bed, and it's a privacy curtain, basically.
Yeah.
When you're talking people living in close quarters, think of your bedroom closet and think about 8 or 10 people living in that bedroom closet. You kind of value your privacy.
Yeah. It's probably the only privacy you get on there.
Yeah. There things like that. We're looking at, putting in some nice table coverings in the crew's mess, and so that, that reflect Iowa.
Okay.
And other things like that. A large portion of what we're doing is trying to give the crew the recognition they deserve for helping put this submarine together and taking it to sea.
Captain Doug MacCrea from the U.S. Navy, retired, in with me, along with Ron Woodard from American Legion Waukee Post 737. All right, so it sounds like what you guys are trying to do is just make life a little bit better on the boat, right?
That's initially the goal, yeah.
The exercise equipment just sticks out to me for some reason. I don't know why. I feel like that should be like just a given, that something like that would be on it,
At some point, the way this works is that there are appropriated funds and non-appropriated funds.
Okay.
Until a submarine is commissioned, which won't be until late 2023, perhaps early 2024 right now, they're not eligible to receive much, if any, of the non-obligated funds that the Navy collects through their morale, welfare, and recreation organization.
Okay.
So it may be 6 to 8 months before the boat would be able to have those funds available to do some of this stuff. So we're jumping the gun a little bit and trying to get that stuff there ahead of time for them.
And real quick, correct me if I'm wrong, do you call a submarine a ship, a boat?
Submarines have historically been called boats.
Okay, so I got it right there.
Yeah.
All right, I didn't make anybody mad. I was kind of worried about that. All right, so if people do want to help out with this, what's going to be the best way to do it?
The best way is to donate through our website, www.ssn797.com, and follow that. We're also on Facebook with information. We're putting out periodic newsletters. Our communications plan is shifting this as we do this. Mm-hmm. The unfortunate part, it's both fortunate and unfortunate. We're getting more time to do this work because production has been delayed. The submarines' christening and commissioning dates have slid to the right some. So that in turn causes some challenges for us as well, because the whole crew's in place now, all 130 of them. They expected to be at sea right now.
Really? It was supposed to be done already?
We were supposed to christen the boat originally, since I became involved in this group, last weekend, Labor Day weekend.
Oh, really?
Which would put commissioning sometime in June of 2023. And that timeline is already probably almost a year time late because of COVID and other things.
When did they start building this boat?
The keel was laid August of 2019.
Okay.
The ship was named at Iowa State University by Secretary of the Navy Ray Mabus in September of 2015. It takes roughly 6 to 7 years from the time a ship is contracted to it's built and ready to go to the fleet.
Can you tell us a little bit more about this submarine? What is it? Class? I don't know.
This is a Virginia-class attack submarine. It is a Block 4 Virginia-class submarine. When we say Block 4, there have been minor design and weapon systems modifications as the ship is built. There are at least one more block ready to start being built here in a few more years. The Iowa is one of the very first ships, submarines, if you will. You have to excuse me, I'm a surface guy. It's one of the very first submarines specifically designed to have a female crew members.
Okay.
So boat's got a 35-year lifespan, never refuel it, which is something new in the world of nuclear propulsion. You will not hear much of Iowa after commissioning because the boat will be on scene and unseen when it is at sea.
I was going to say, once it does, get underway, what is the purpose of a submarine like this?
Virginia-class submarines conduct anti-submarine warfare, which means they go out and they hunt other submarines. They conduct strike warfare, which means they launch missiles, Tomahawk cruise missiles against designated targets. They conduct information warfare and intelligence gathering. They conduct oceanographic research. They run a wide spectrum of missions.
It sounds like this is the type of thing that you're never going to hear about it unless you need to hear about it.
That's correct. I mean, since the dawn of submarines, they have euphemistically been called the silent service because they don't talk about what they do.
I get you.
And very rarely will you hear about what they do. And then when you do, you're kidding me.
Who's the captain of the ship?
The current
boat.
Okay. The current commanding officer is Commander Matt Powell. He's a native of Georgia. He entered the Navy through the Nuclear Power Officer Candidate Program. And he served on both fast attack submarines and ballistic missile submarines.
That's awesome. Captain Doug MacCrea, U.S. Navy, retired, and Ron Woodard from American Legion Waukee Post 737. You want people to go to ssn797.com to help is the big way to help.
The American Legion, and particularly American Legion Riders, have been strong supporters of this for the past year. They're very enthusiastic. They've just been great partners for us, not only in central Iowa, but across the state.
Awesome.
And this is a statewide effort.
And what we're going to do is up on the website, we'll get a link to your guys' website. We've also got a PayPal account that if people want to help out, they can. I'm guessing this is kind of like a food bank situation where money is the best way to help, right?
Yes.
Okay, because you guys can stretch it and make it go further and that sort of thing, right? Ron?
I haven't had much time to talk with Doug either, and there's a couple of questions I'd like to ask you if I may.
Oh, go ahead.
For one, Doug, do you have any idea what the dollar figure is you're targeting for to help out with this commissioning committee?
We've been fortunate enough to follow in the footsteps of several other boats that have had commissioning committees, and the general goal number that we're looking for is $500,000. And that will go provide not only our ability to bring crew members back here and keep that going. What people don't realize is that members of the Iowa crew came back to the Cedar Rapids area following the derecho and helped with cleanup.
Oh, wow.
They've been back now representing the boat and participating in RAGBRAI for the last 2 years. Hopefully we can extend that for a third year, but that's based on the schedule at that point.
Yeah.
We've been fortunate enough to bring crew members back that didn't really necessarily have any other place to go for Thanksgiving and put them on with host families.
Oh, that's cool.
Now, all in the goal of getting them to experience what Iowa's all about and the Iowa people, and to get the people of Iowa who have little or no opportunity on a daily or weekly basis to see what the sea service is about, to meet U.S. Navy sailors.
Well, it's good to have those ties.
It's absolutely good to have those ties, and it's critical. I mean, for those people that have served at sea and they go to sea, particularly on a submarine, when they go, all ties to the family are cut. I mean, they may get communication once or twice a month if they're lucky.
Yeah.
Back in my day, it was all mail.
Oh, boy.
And I remember the day that I watched the mailbag being transferred from one ship to another, and it went in the water, and we never recovered it.
That's
and all that stuff that was lost. So, it works both ways. What we're hoping to do now is set up a continuum of support for the boat and its families, even after commissioning. And we've got a group of volunteers that are working with us right now that will carry on that tradition called the U.S. Submarine Veterans of Iowa, that they will continue on supporting that crew and that boat after the commissioning date. By law, the commissioning committee has to cease to exist the day after commissioning.
Okay. What's interesting, and this is going to sound so silly of me, but you don't hear a lot about supporting your battleship or your submarine or, that sort of thing from the state. Like, that there will be a USS, Wisconsin or Iowa or, what have you. You don't hear, the state being able to support that very often, right?
Well,
or not as much. Like, I don't know why, but
the state initially has provided a tremendous amount of funding, at least in my mind.
But I mean the people of the state.
No, the continuum is of funding to help the battleship Iowa, and now it's going to become on board the Iowa, the Museum of the Surface Navy.
Yeah.
You don't hear too much about those fundraising efforts now because a lot of them are done via the mail or via direct marketing or behind the scenes, one-on-one with prospective donors. In the case of the USS Iowa, we had a couple legislators that were generous enough and kind enough to submit a bill in both the House and the Senate this year recommending state funding. That bill went through some iterations between the House and the Senate. It was passed. The state was kind enough to give us some money to help do this and support the crew and the boat. Every state except one has provided funding from their general funds or specific funds that they may control to help commissioning committees support the boats for the states that they're named.
Captain Doug MacCrea from the U.S. Navy retired here, along with Ron Woodard from American Legion Waukee Post 737. Guys, thank you so much for coming in today and letting us know a little bit about this. Like I said, we'll put the links up on the website. We'll get the word out as much as possible, and hopefully we can help out a little bit, even if it's just a minuscule amount. And Ron, real quick, thank you so much for bringing this up. I'm glad you guys came in. I really am, and I'm happy to help in whatever way we can.
Well, we appreciate that, and we appreciate the support that the citizens of Iowa are trying to give the crew and the boat through our commissioning committee, and we thank them. This is your boat too. This is your crew, and that's what they want, to be considered part of the state of Iowa.
Guys, thank you so much.